Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Back at it today with a crazy story. I took a little bit of time off. Took about a week. Took some time off of work. Took some me time. But today we got a crazy story where instead of your typical team of robbers, today's tale is about the cops got with the robbers. Today's tale is about the Memorial Day heist in 1980 in Medford, Mass, where a six-team crew of robbers, including three Medford police officers, headed up that robbery team. So we're going to get into that today. It's a crazy story. And, it's like a local urban legend. I remember hearing about this, when I was a younger kid and stuff. And I figured, why not? We're doing heists. I'm gonna start getting into more stuff like that. Armored car trucks, robberies, armored car crews, and bank robbery crews, and all that. And let's get into the story today. So, like I said, Memorial Day weekend, 1980, in Medford, Mass. Career criminals Gerald Clemente, Thomas Doherty, who we'll call Tommy, Joey Bangs. They plan to rob the Depositors Trust Bank in Medford, Mass. And they need a safecracker and an alarm expert and a team of members that blend in. And, I forgot to mention, Jerry, Tommy, and Joey were all cops. Those are the three of the crew that were Medford police officers. Captain Gerald Jerry Clemente, Sergeant Joseph Joey Bangs, and Lieutenant Thomas Tommy Doherty were all of the Medford Police Department. And these guys were not, ideal officers or anything like that. This was the craziest thing they did, and the story gets crazier and crazier, and we'll get into it. But these guys, these guys were known for like selling the answers for promotion tests for the police department, so if you wanted to get a promotion, stuff like that. Like, I was in the Marine Corps, they did stuff like that with, if you wanted to pick up corporal and whatnot, and your MCIs, people would give you the cheat answers and stuff like that, but that was the Marine Corps. This is police department, you know what I mean? And it was known that Joey Bangs was essentially a loan shark as well, and who ended up becoming a drug dealer later on after the robbery and whatnot. And these guys, they end up robbing a bank. So that goes to show you what type of police officers they were and stuff. Boston. I come from Quincy, Mass. So 5 minutes up the street is Dorchester, Boston, right there. Medford, same thing. It's like, 15, 20 minutes north of Boston, right there. So I'm just south of Boston. And, the story today in Medford, Massachusetts is just a little north of Boston. It's also a big mob stronghold. Jerry and Julo and some of his brothers had residences out there. There was a lot of them that had dealings out there in Medford. And, so in relatively short time, the group gathered what they needed for the heist. Again, that was at the Depositors Trust Bank in Medford, Mass. And they needed someone who had expertise in safe cracking and alarm expertise. They brought on Arthur Bucky Barrett, coincidentally a Quincy man himself. And if you've seen Black Mass or read, Brutal, Kevin Weeks' book and stuff like that, you'd know who that is, Bucky Barrett. He was their alarm and safe cracking expert. And, we'll get into what happened to him. He gets mixed up with Bolger and the Irish mob and stuff later on, and we'll get into that. But so there's their alarm and safe cracking guy. And, sorry, 1 second, guys. Kenny Charles Holmes, Francis Brother O'Leary, made up the final members of the six of the crew. and they gathered at Joey Bang's apartment to discuss the heist and plan it and whatnot. And you know, they started doing reconnaissance on the bank and stuff. Like two of them, who was it? It was Doherty and Bangs were doing, you know, they were doing reconnaissance for the heist in their police cruisers. You know, 3 of the 6 were police officers. So this they didn't expect to get caught. This was almost like, you know, Wall Street with insider information, you know what I mean? Except for this is a bank robbery. And this ended up becoming, and still is, I believe to this day, the biggest bank heist in New England history. Not the country or the world, but in New England. The Medford job was where the where the cops became the robbers. Was the largest bank heist in New England history. So the vault itself contained 1,000 safety deposit boxes, but the real money is in a safe behind a steel, time-locked door. But in order to get in there first, they had to bypass a silent alarm and get through 18 inches of steel-reinforced concrete. Then get the safe door open. So alarm expert Bucky Barrett would take care of the silent alarm. He would, you know, kind of ingeniously create a device that could block the signal, that could bypass the silent alarm. And but it wasn't that simple. He had to test out each wire individually and adjust his device each time. The entire process would take around 2 months, you know. So this is kind of, it's not just a simple run in there, guns out, you know, hit him up, bang bang. No, like this guy who, you know, they give you every inkling is an idiot, you know, small-time hood. Clearly, he was smart enough to put together this device and bypass silent alarms and stuff like that. Like, this is a well-guarded place. Like, there was a lot of mobsters that was rumored to have safety deposit boxes there and stuff like that. Kind of like if you've seen the movie Vault, right, with Chaz Palminteri. Like, they robbed the place like that, and that ended up becoming, that's a separate job, you know what I mean? But similarly like that, with the mob had, you know, and they figured who dare would rob this place. A lot, you know, not as big, but a lot of mobsters in the patriarchal crime family had safety deposit boxes there as well. So, you know, it would take about 2 months, and they finally got everything under control. And, you know, after doing their recon and learning comings and goings of the bank and the people on the street and stuff like that, they decided that they had to enter the vault through a connected shop that was next door to the Depositors Trust Bank. And they would have to get in there, pick the lock, which would give them access to enter the attic of the store. Once in the attic, they used sledgehammers to bust through the dividing concrete wall into the crawl space of the vault. And for the 18 inches of steel-reinforced concrete, some carbide drill bits, blow torches, a little bit of elbow grease, and a little bit of dynamite was what was needed for that. And, you know, if the plan goes off, you know, the plane goes off without a hitch. Bucky's device works. They bypass the alarm. Jerry picks the lock of the shop next door. And they use dynamite to break through the reinforced concrete. And they actually use sandbags to muffle the sound of the dynamite. And it says, and, you know, I had to read a bunch of different stuff to get the, you know, the full story to put together the video for today. But it said in one of the police reports, or maybe it was the local police report, where they said there was also a local carnival that was like right up the street as well too. So I'm sure that provided, you know, plenty of noise and distraction as well, while, you know, essentially three police officers robbed this bank. 3 of the 6 are police officers. You know, so by 3 a.m. they're in the vault. And since it's Memorial Day weekend, they didn't figure this in. This must have made them, you know, shit in their pants. So, you know, they get in there, and initially all they find is $60,000 in cash. So they're losing it. They're like, what the, you know, because of Memorial Day weekend, they forgot that, you know, banks and other places like that, usually in a long weekend, will make, you know, deposit most of the cash on hand. So there was only $60,000 in cash. However, there was 1,000 safety deposit boxes And over 2 days, they would return, come back in and out of the bank, taking the safety deposit back to Joey Bangs' basement, where they all met up after the robbery. And when they busted open all 1,000 of the safety deposit boxes, they turned that frown upside down. So there ended up being, in all 1,000 of the safety deposit boxes, there was $10 million in cash. Definitely better than the initial 60 grand they thought they had. And as well, mixed in with the cash. So 10 million in cash and 5 million in jewelry. So total take 10 million in cash and 5 million in jewelry. This is the largest bank heist in New England history. The jewelry and diamonds are split among Joey and Bucky for safekeeping. And the 10 million in cash is divvied up between the 6 of them, all evenly. And they figure, if we're going to get caught, it's going to be the jewelry that's going to trip us up, So we'll wait to fence that. That's why they only had 2 guys, Joey and Bucky, holding on to the jewelry. The cash was split up between the 6 of them. So back to Bucky Barrett. So what ends up happening, they split everything up, and Jerry advised them to stay out of trouble for the next 6 years. That was the statute of limitations for their crime, for the heist. And, so that, it sounds simple enough for, 3 of them were active cops with the Medford Police Department. So how hard is it to stay out of trouble and just do your job? So by May 27th of 1980, the bank employees come back in. They figure out they're robbed. The FBI starts investigating and whatnot. Go figure, the local police liaison for the FBI is Tommy Doherty. They suspect Jerry and Joey Bangs right off the rip, but it would be some time before they could start piecing people together and stuff like that. And, so again, back to Bucky. So what happens with him is he goes missing in 1983, Bucky Barrett, and he is essentially kidnapped by Bulger and Co. with the Irish mob in South Boston for the money and the jewels, which he was supposed to give a percentage to them, which, everyone who's Irish or whatever, he dealt with that world, supposed to pay them. Well, he came for the whole thing instead. So they kidnapped him right off the street in 1983, I believe. That's when he was reported missing. They torture the guy. They take whatever cash he had left over from the, whatever his end of the 10 million split 6 ways was. They took the remainder of cash, which I'm not sure what it was. And then I believe it was estimated 3 to 5 million in jewelry that they got back, that they took as well, Bulger. They killed this guy. They don't find him till Kevin Weeks starts giving up the bodies way, way, way down the road. So there's one of the 6 that you don't have to account for. He's out of the way by 83. And by 1984, people go from the remaining 5 out of the initial 6 of the robbery crew, start to spiral out a bit. People start using drugs. Joey Bangs, while still being an active sergeant of the Medford Police Department and being suspected of possibly being involved somehow in that robbery, even though they can't prove it, is being investigated for selling cocaine. So they're doing drugs. They're getting high by 1984. Bucky's out the way. They don't know. They don't find out till way later on. They just think, hey, whatever, he's gone. We don't have to worry about him. And, by 84, like I said, the drug use has spiraled out of control. And after a weekend of wild spending, these guys are spending money. They're starting to unravel, and the FBI is just sitting there, waiting to, dissect, the remaining 5 of them. And after a wild weekend, Tommy and Joey, after, substantial drug use, they're paranoid. They're high on drugs. They're paranoid. They get into a fight and an argument. Accusations, paranoia, drug use. What comes with cocaine and stuff. And Joey takes a shotgun and goes and confronts Tommy. And the two end up fighting right in the front lawn of, I believe it was Tommy's house. And but Tommy disarms Joey, but Joey pulls a pistol and Tommy shoots Joey with the shotgun that he took from him initially. So here they are in 1984, 4 years later, 2 years till the statute of limitations is done, and these guys start falling apart. So he gets shot. He survives the incident, and Joey gets shot with the shotgun. He survives. The police come. Well, obviously, the FBI is just waiting for something like this to happen. They investigate this crime. They check the trunk of Joey's car, and they find jewelry from the heist, tied directly back to the heist in 1980. And, that's not enough to charge them for that crime yet, but it's like, well, now we got him. So here it is. It's the usual suspects and more. And they start investigating them. And in the meantime, the state puts Tommy on trial for attempted murder of Joey. And while on the stand, Joey rats out Tommy for the bank heist. So while the state brings murder charges on Tommy, attempted murder charges, Joey takes the stand and rats just Tommy out for the bank. So there's number two. So this, Bucky's dead. Now you take these two out the way. But he only rats on Tommy for the bank heist. But the rest of the crew are itching. The other three are like, what the hell, Bucky's gone. He doesn't have enough to tell on us. He's not going to tell on us. He would have did it by now. But the FBI starts breathing down Joey's mistress's neck. Now, Joey's mistress was tied into the whole thing. She was there with the planning. She was there after the execution of the robbery and was in the basement of Joey's house. So she knew everything. So the FBI starts breathing down her neck, and she gives up everybody. So that's how this story comes to a head. That's essentially how they all got caught. The whole crew went down. She spills her guts, and Jerry, Tommy, Kenny, and Francis all end up in jail. Joey was granted immunity and put into witness protection for his testimony and cooperation. The rest of them, I couldn't find out what they were actually sentenced to. That was the only thing I couldn't find in the story, but a fantastic story. The cops become the robbers, and the story of how 3 Medford police officers were part of a bank robbery crew that pulled off the biggest bank heist in New England history. And drugs. What else is new? Drugs always brings people down, and in these situations brings a lot of people down. They got reckless, they got sloppy, and paranoia set in, and the FBI, they got all day, So I couldn't find out what they were actually sentenced to. So I hope you guys found the story interesting. I know I did. It's definitely a local, favorite of the locals. And so I'll be bringing you guys more stories like this. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions, leave it in the comment section. Or, like I said, I love doing this stuff. And, so please, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below if you guys have any ideas for future content or whatever. But it's good to be back. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. It's hump day. I can't fucking wait till Friday. I know that. It's been a long week, but it's good to be back. Take care, guys. Take it easy.